This, everybody, is the winter melon. Winter melon is not just something to catapult at zombies. No, this is a very interesting fruit that is in the cucumber family. So cucumbers, squashes, melons, gourds, this is in that family, but it's in its own genus. There are only two species in the genus that has winter melon, the winter melon itself, and also this guy, the Tinda, which you'll find in Indian cooking. I'm going to be talking about both of these today. I'm going to try them raw to see what they're like and how they compare, but also I'm going to be cooking with both of them, and I'm going to end this episode by visiting Vietnam, where I will try a very special beverage that is made from the winter melon. Let's get to it. I'm about to blow your mind, everybody, because every melon that you get from the supermarket, well, with the exception of watermelons, every melon other than watermelons are the same exact species. So cantaloupe, honeydew, Santa Claus melon, Korean melon, Mirza melons, all that. All of these things are the same exact species. Well, winter melon is not Cucumis mellow. It is not a melon, technically. It is its own thing. Some people call this a gourd or a squash, which, I mean, it's related to those too, but it is in its own genus. That genus is Benincasa, and as I mentioned, there are two Benincasas. There's this one, winter melon, which is Benincasa hispida, and then there is Tinda, which is Benincasa fistulosa. Very different looking, but these are very, very closely related. Let's do a little comparison of the Benincasas that I have here today. So winter melon, you're going to find this all throughout Asia. This is very popular in China, in Japan, all throughout Southeast Asia, in Thailand, in Malaysia. The Tinda, though, this one is popular mostly just in the Indian subcontinent. I've never had this before, but I've had winter melon in things before. I've never eaten either of these just out of hand, and I'm kind of curious what that's going to be like. We'll get to that in a second. I'm a little distracted, though, because these have interesting exteriors to them. So the winter melon, you can see, has this like dusty color on it. Sometimes it's called wax melon, and it might be because of that. Honestly, I don't know, but it seems to have like a waxy coating on the outside. And it grows like that. That's how it comes in nature. Very fleshy, very thick rind, a lot of seeds in there. The Tinda, though, is pretty interesting. Even though these are very closely related, besides the fact that it is a fraction of the size, it's very, very small compared to the winter melon, it also is smooth on the outside. It doesn't have that dusty, waxy coating to it. And it has little hairs on it. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little teeny wispy hairs coming out of that. It's such a thick rind that cutting it off with a knife, or in my case, a cleaver, makes more sense than using, let's say, like a vegetable peeler. First, let's try a piece of the winter melon. That is good, but not because of the flavor. It has hardly any flavor. It's because of the texture. The texture of that is great. It's nice and crispy and crunchy. It's kind of like the texture of like the outer part of a watermelon, but more succulent, more juicy than that, a little crispier than that. And the flavor is not nothing. There is something there. Like a little bit like cucumber, like you would imagine, like outside of watermelon would taste like cucumber. But also there's like a little something mildly citrusy and mildly peppery about it. Like almost like a little touch of like white pepper. Like not black pepper, that's too strong, but like little white pepper. Not something I want to like sit and eat a bowl of while watching TV, but something that definitely makes sense as a cooking ingredient. But next, let's try the Tinda. Very small, fine little seeds in there. The texture is different. This is softer. It's not crunchy and crispy. It's still a bit juicy, but not as juicy as the winter melon. It's got a little bit like of a little bit of a fluffy kind of texture to it. People use the seeds often just like mixed in. You cut it up with the seeds included. Um, and the seeds have a nice little crunch to them. The flavor of it is different, but also very mild. So not the easiest thing to pick apart. It still is kind of like in the world of a cucumbery kind of taste, I guess, but maybe a little bit more squash-like. Like if you were to eat a piece of like raw zucchini. This doesn't have that little peppery taste that the winter melon has, but what it does have is more sweetness. This has a sweeter flavor to it. But I'd say that they are equally mild. They are different, but equally mild. And I think like when you cook both of these, they are both going to just take on the flavor of what you're cooking it with. Winter melon is also sometimes made into a stir fry, which I have some right here. So to make this, I adapted a recipe that I saw online, the website omnivorescookbook.com. To do this, I cut the winter melon as well as a carrot into batons, and then I blanched them. The recipe I followed said you can cook these without blanching them, but when you do that, they can get mushy, so it suggested doing that, so I did. Then I took one garlic clove, one bird's eye chili, and a little bit of ginger, and I cut those up. I sauteed that in a pan until it started to turn a little bit brown, and then I chucked in the blanched carrot and winter's melon. I let that cook for about a minute, and then I added a pinch of sugar and a little bit of broth powder. The broth powder that I used is Vegeta. You use whatever you want, but Vegeta, I love this stuff. I put it on everything. So I put some of that in there, and then I mix it up. I let it cook for like another minute. Another thing that the recipe I followed suggested was to make a slurry with cornstarch and water and put that in when it's towards the end of its cooking process. And the reason why you do that is because the winter melon is so juicy, it can just like drain all the broth right out to the bottom, like pool at the bottom of your dish rather than stick to the vegetable itself. And it worked. It's not pooling all of the flavor is stuck onto the vegetable. Smart. So first, let's just try a piece of the winter melon on its own. Definitely retains the texture. Very crunchy, very crispy, very juicy. Still doesn't really have much flavor to it, but it has taken on the flavor of the things I put in there. So I'm getting ginger, garlic, pepper, broth. It's like nothing crazy, you know. If you're expecting a flavor explosion, you're not going to get it, but it does take on the flavors pretty well. And the texture is nice. It's unique, but it works. So I'm going to try another bite, but with a bit of carrot in there. The flavor of the carrot goes well with this dish. I feel like the textures fight a little bit though. Instead of having like a carrot stick, I think that this should be like carrot shreds. But as it is, a very nice dish. I wouldn't have this as like a main course. I would have this as a side dish or like an appetizer or something. It is a simple but nice flavor. But next, we're going to move on to the main course, everybody, because we're going to talk about another savory use of the Benincasa species that are out there. Another one, the Tinda. I've been looking at a lot of different recipes that have Tinda in the foreground. The main ingredient is the Tinda. And one thing that I've noticed in those kinds of recipes is that often the person making the dish will preface their recipe with saying, even if you don't like Tinda, you'll like this one.
Not a fan of Tinda? You might just change your mind today.
I think Tinda has the reputation of being something that is maybe good for you, but doesn't taste especially good. A lot of the recipes I was looking at were going really, really heavy on the spices, and they look amazing. They look like something that if you put on your socks, it would taste good. Like really, really good, strong ingredients. I think that is to compensate for the fact that some people don't like the flavor of this thing. The recipe I'm following actually says to peel these by scraping the skin off like this.
And I don't know, this is kind of annoying to do. And I'm worried I'm going to cut my thumb. Yeah, using a peeler is far easier in my opinion, so I'm going to be doing it that way. Yeah, it comes right off.
I believe the reason why the recipe calls for you to do this is for two reasons. The chickpea flour, I think adding that to this dish is going to thicken it. It's going to make a thicker gravy at the end. And the spices, this is going to wake up those spices and add a little bit more flavor to them. You know, if you roast your garam masala before you use it, it's going to give it a nice roasty flavor. I let that sit and marinate while I was preparing the other ingredients and maybe a little extra. Altogether, about half an hour.
I have 1 onion, 2 bird's-eye chilies, 1 clove of garlic, 1 knob of ginger, and a bunch of little tomatoes. This is probably the equivalent of like 2 tomatoes right there. I'm gonna cut up all this stuff.
And here it is, my Tinda masala. To make this, I followed a recipe, well, I adapted a recipe that was from Classic Kitchen Recipes. And I will be having my Tinda masala with a little piece of roti. Yeah, you could definitely cook your socks in this mixture and they would be delicious. One of the ingredients I've never cooked with before, and that is the fenugreek leaf. The fenugreek leaf tastes a little bit like fenugreek seeds. It's got like a little bit of like a sweet maple syrupy kind of flavor, which honestly I'm not the biggest fan of, but in here it's good. That little bit of sweetness kind of mellows out the spice that's in there. And you get a little bit of sweetness from the Tinda as well. I'm going to try just a piece of the Tinda on its own to see how well it's absorbing the flavors, but also if it is contributing anything. Well, first off, the textures involved here are something special. You're getting like 3 textures. You're getting the firm rindish kind of part, which is similar to the winter melon dish that I made earlier. It's firm, it's juicy, it kind of like fights you a little bit when you bite into it. That's nice. But then you go inside and then you get the inner part, which is soft and fluffy. And then you also have the seeds. Because I cooked this with the seeds inside, you get a little crunch from those seeds as well. And it does absorb the flavor. It does definitely get all the spices in there. I'm tasting the spices. Not tasting much of the fruit itself, but I am tasting the spices. The Tinda is contributing to this dish. It's not just something that you're covering up. You know, a while back I had like a a spiced dish made with banana peels. You could put it on a sock and it would be amazing. You could even put it on banana peels and it would be amazing. And it was. But you would probably rather like anything else in there besides the banana peel. Like if you put a potato in there, it would be better than using banana peels. It's just a way to kind of use what you have on hand. The Tinda is not doing that. I don't know if this is everybody's cup of tea, but I think it is something worth checking out just because it is unique. Same thing with the sauteed winter melon that I had earlier. Not everybody's sort of thing, but it does provide something that is something special. But I have one more piece of business before I go, and that is to discuss how the winter melon is also used to make sweets. Yeah, it's not just for savory things. I believe the Tinda is only used for savory things, but the winter melon is sometimes used for sweets. It is very popular in China, especially around Chinese New Year, and in India as well. You can get winter melon sweets. Some years ago, I talked about another non-cucumis mellow melon called the shark fin melon. And the shark fin melon is called that because in China they make a shark fin soup substitute with it, because I guess it has the texture of shark fin. Interesting, right? So in China it's used to make that soup, and in South America shark fin melon is used to make a sweet that is prepared pretty much the same way as winter melon. It is a nightmare. It is a nightmare process. It takes like a week to do. So I attempted to do it once and I gave up after like a couple of days and I went and bought some. I believe the winter melon candy is a little bit crunchier and the shark fin candy is a little crispier because the shark fin candy has more layers to it rather than just density. So it's slightly different, but I'll tell you right now, the flavor of it is the same, and that flavor is sugar. So if you are interested in learning more about my experience with the flavor of sugar, check out my video on the shark fin melon where I try the shark fin melon sweets. But what I am going to try is another sweet application using the winter melon, and that is winter melon juice or winter melon tea. If you go to a Chinese supermarket, you will find this for sale in a can. I've had it. I don't like it. I think having it fresh makes a big difference. So I managed to find a fresh winter melon juice vendor when I visited Vietnam recently. So I'm going to show you that footage right now. Greetings everybody, I am in Hanoi in Vietnam, and you might hear some music in the background. There's a choir randomly performing over there. There's a lot of street noise too. I tried to find a quiet area, but it's hard to find because Hanoi is chaotic. There's just like so much energy here. There's so many cars, so much traffic, so many people selling things everywhere you look. And that's kind of how fruit is too. As you go around, you see vendors everywhere. Vendors on motor scooters selling things out of the back. People walking with like a stick across their back with like 2 bundles of different fruits on either side. And there's of course like actual markets as well, but there's a lot on the street. And one thing that I've been seeing is something that I've been wanting to cover on this channel for a while. People selling winter melon juice or winter melon tea. Here, there's vendors selling it where they're taking the cut up fruit, cooking it with sugar and it looks like some other stuff, like some chia seeds in there, and they're preparing it fresh on the street. There's like little noodles of the winter melon in here. They took it and they shredded it. And they put some chia seeds and maybe some other things as well. And it is good. So the choir is getting quite loud, so I'm sorry if you can't hear me, but it is kind of nice. So the flavor of this is just like a malty
sugar cane, palm sugar kind of taste. And I think that's the sugar. I think the winter melon itself is fairly innocuous. I think it doesn't have like a huge flavor to it, but people like it because it's supposed to have certain medicinal benefits. In a lot of Asia in general, people believe when you have food, there's things that are considered hot foods and cold foods. Not temperature, but more of like body balance, like yin and yang. And winter melon is supposed to be a very cooling thing. So you have this in order to like balance your body out, and that's supposed to be good for a variety of different reasons. And I think that's also why there's chia seeds and other things in here. It's probably a concoction of several different things that are supposed to be cool to your body, to balance out any heatness that you have, which I don't fully understand the concept of, but it is something you see a lot when you travel, and this is something that people will have in order to kind of help balance themselves medicinally. But it does taste good. It doesn't taste like a medicinal drink. It's not bitter at all. It's a nice, sweet flavored drink. Having the texture of the winter melon shreds in there, the little noodles, is kind of nice too. Reminds me of like bubble tea, only instead of a ball, it's a noodle. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this, and I think that's about it. I'm going to go and check this out, this concert that's going on here. But thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.
So I guess it's more of like a chorus meets pop singers. Not bad.
If you enjoy what I'm doing here on YouTube and you would like to see me do more of it, please consider supporting me over on Patreon. Patreon and also YouTube memberships is how I get the funding to do all the things that I do. So not only do you get to support the channel, but you also get stuff in return that nobody else can get, like early access to videos, exclusive videos. There's an option where I'll send you stuff in the mail, and I can even give you a big shout out, like the one that I'm about to do right now for Bill T, Joseph McCorkle, Allison and Clara, and Smarter Every Day. Thank you very much, guys, and thank you everybody for watching.